Good afternoon. Glad that you've chosen to spend some time studying the Bible with us today. Today we are looking at Mark chapter 13, verses 14 through 27. But when you see the abomination of desolation standing where he ought not to be, let the reader understand, then let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains. Let the one who is on the housetop not go down nor enter his house to take anything out. And let the one who is in the field not turn back to take his cloak. And alas for women who are pregnant and for those who are nursing infants in those days. Pray that it may not happen in winter. For in those days there will be such tribulation as not been from the beginning of the creation that God created until now and never will be. And if the Lord had not cut short the days, no human being would be saved. But for the sake of the elect whom he chose, he shortened the days. And then if anyone says to you, look, here is the Christ, or look, there he is, do not believe it. For false Christs and false prophets will arise and perform signs and wonders to lead astray, if possible, the elect. But be on guard, I have told you all things beforehand. But in those days, after that tribulation, the sun will be darkened and the moon will not give its light, and the stars will be falling from heaven, and the powers in the heavens will be shaken. And then they will see the Son of Man coming in clouds with great power and glory. And then he will send out the angels and gather his elect from the four winds, from the ends of the earth to the ends of heaven. Jesus has started this passage, this prophecy at the beginning of 13, and he's already talked about signs of the ends of the age. Now, we have to understand a couple of things. First of all, there is sometimes an element of us, a desire to see everything in terms of the last things. In other words, what's going to happen at the very end of the world. And a lot of times when we kind of go down that road, we also want to see everything in a kind of one for one. This means this means that, this means this. I don't think that's necessary. I'm not saying it's always incorrect at all. A couple things we do know. Jesus did say he's coming back. Without a doubt, he is coming back. When he comes back, things will be different. Without a doubt. Those things are clear as can be. But I think more is going on in this particular passage. And when we read a passage like this, we have to remember what we've already read. In other words, that's kind of the old idea of somebody needing a word for today and they just flip through the Bible and pick a page and, put their finger down like, okay, that's what this means. But that's not a great way of studying the Bible. That's not a great way of understanding what's going on. So we've looked at the whole gospel. We're not to the end yet, but we know how it ends, and we probably have read other Gospels. And so there's a couple of things going on here that, first of all, one thing that is going to happen. Now, when I say it is going to happen, at the time these words are written, it's about the year 30, 33, somewhere in there. Okay? In the year 70 AD, the temple was destroyed because the Roman army came in to Jerusalem and destroyed it. And so these words would be found to have their fulfillment, at least partial fulfillment, in that event. Years later, after Jesus would say these things, those that had lived through this would think back to what he had said, and they would find a lot of fulfillment for his words in this. The temple did fall, and things were much, much different. But he does have that thing at the end where he talks about the Son of Man coming back. And so we'll leave that part, not because it's not important, of course. We'll leave that part as sort of a settled issue. Jesus is coming back. And let's think about the other part, though, in light of the Gospels. So Jesus has come to seek and save that which was lost. Jesus started his ministry about 3 years before this moment in Mark's Gospel. And Jesus was constantly preaching and teaching, healing, casting out demons, feeding, all the things. But his goal was always to go to Jerusalem to fulfill the mission for which God sent him, which was to die on the cross. He was seeking and saving that which was lost. The leadership of the Jews, the chief priests, the Sanhedrin, the scribes, the Pharisees, teachers of the law, all those, they did not like what Jesus had to say. They wanted their own system. They were content with their own system, at least as much as a comparison between their system and Jesus. So what I'm saying is, Jesus comes, they're forced with a choice. I can go Jesus' way, or I can keep my own way. I'll keep my own way, thank you very much. That was the choice they made. Jesus continually preached and reached out to them and tried to bring them along, because Jesus came for everyone. Everyone includes Jews, Gentiles. Everyone includes the regular person and the chief priest. It includes everyone. He wanted them to accept his way. And their rejection of him, ultimate rejection, would come when they stood before Pilate and they said, we want you to crucify this man. And Pilate says, what, you want me to crucify your king? And they said, we have no king but Caesar. Well, about 35 years after they said that, they were going to reap the fruits of that, because their king, Caesar, was coming. And their king was not going to treat them very tenderly. He came in, the armies laid siege to Jerusalem. It was a horrible, horrible, horrible event. People were starving to death. There were all sorts of grisly and gruesome things that happened. Many, many, many Jews were killed. More of them actually by other Jews than by the Romans, because it was such a terrible thing. And all this happened because they wanted their way instead of Jesus' way. See, it turns out we all have a choice. We can accept Jesus and his offer of salvation, or we can look at his offer and say, no thanks, I'll just continue on my way. Well, our way might be, you might say it might work for you today, but there will come a day when your way will fail because we cannot save ourselves. And ultimately, everyone is going to stand before a holy God. Or maybe I should say, we're going to come before a holy God. We're not really going to stand before him, because we will have no standing if we've arrived there on our own. At that moment, there will be one of two options. Either we will stand there with our own salvation in our own hands, our own efforts at salvation, and we'll see them for the dust they are, and will be condemned forever. Or we will come in bearing the righteousness of Christ. And God will take one look at us and smile and say, you remind me a lot of my son. Why don't you come on in? And so Jesus came that we might have eternal life. Jesus didn't come to feed people, though he did do that. He didn't come to heal, though he did do that. He didn't come ultimately to cast demons out, though he did some of that. He didn't come so that you and I could be nice. He came to save us from sin. That is why he came. Any other emphasis that we put on Jesus must always be far, far down the road from that emphasis. He came to save us from our sin. And in just a couple of days, Good Friday, we'll commemorate the day. It always seemed funny when I was a kid. Why is Good Friday and nothing seems good? It's like he died on a cross. Well, because the reason he died is good news indeed. I hope that you have a great day. And if you would like to support this ministry, you could do so by subscribing to my YouTube channel and hitting the notification thing. And that'll help the videos to get out to more people. That's all you need to do. God bless. Have a great day. See you next time.